All right, so chapter 8, this is kind of our last chapter where we're in that purchasing cycle. So now we're servicing, like we're giving all the we're looking at how we can control our costs in the service aspect as well as with our money essentially to make sure that we are keeping track of our sales accurately. So we want to track how many items we have sold. Okay. We want to track how many items we've returned back into inventory. So when you see this word returned right here, number returned, that's not like a guest was unhappy and they returned the food. This means that we've returned it back into our inventory. So let's say we prepped 50 steaks, we only served 40 of them, so I'm going to return 10 back into inventory. If I can count and see those 10 steaks, what kind of inventory is that? Physical inventory, okay? So that returned is our physical inventory. We're going to subtract the number that were issued. And then we're going to look at our shift report to see if there's any comments that can help us identify why we might be missing some product. Okay. So let's just look at this real quick. I could easily go through and look at my sales report. Okay. And when looking at my sales report, I can see how many items of each item each server sold. Okay. So how do I figure out the total? There we go. Add them all up. Okay. So I have 68 ribeyes that I sold, 70 salmon, 85 New York strips, 38 scallops, and 39 pasta primaveras. Okay. Super simple. I could also, if we have an electronic point of sales, I can also usually just run a report and that report will just print out and tell me how many I sold of each item. Okay. So then I'm going to conduct that physical inventory to figure out how many we actually returned back into inventory. Okay. Let's take a look. 1 second, sorry. All right, so looking at my product usage, oops. My items that I sold. So my product usage, I sold 68 ribeye, 7 salmon, 85 New York strip, 38 scallops, and 39 pasta primaveras. Okay, so if I look at my formula right here, I'm going to take the number of I sold plus the number that I returned. Okay, so I sold, that's my perpetual inventory, plus my physical. So what is 68 plus 6? 74. 74. Excellent. Okay. And then I'm going to subtract the number that was issued. So if I issued 75 ribeyes, what is 74 minus 75? -1. That's important. Okay. So grilled salmon, what's 70 plus 25? 95 minus 95? 0. Good. 85 plus 0? Minus 85? They're all accounted for. Scallops, 38 plus 5. 43. 43. So 43 minus 45 is -2. And then 39 and 1, 40 minus 40. Awesome. So which two items are we concerned with? Scallops and ribeye. Ribeye, we're missing 1. Scallops were missing 2. Okay. Go over to my shift notes and I look right here. We 86 New York strip. What does 86 mean? We're out of it. No more. Okay. If you've ever been a server, the cook says, hey, 86 New York strip, that means don't sell any more New York strips. We're done. Okay. Just 86. When I was working at Cheesecake Factory and TGI Fridays, typically on the button on the computer, it actually would have a number 86 on it. And then the button would be grayed out, so I couldn't tap it anymore. Basically, my inventory is gone.
Is there a reason why it's 86?
You know, I don't know the exact reason. That somebody told me in one of my classes this week that I don't know what it was, but like something about a pot that only makes 85 servings. So if you're 86th person in line, then you were out of luck because they had no more food.
Okay.
I don't know. That would be a really interesting thing to find out. So in our shift notes, Robert had some scallops. They were remade because they were rubbery. So I'm going to go over here and put that note right here on my scallops. So if I'm looking, one item was returned. This could account for the reason why I have -2 because we served one, right? But if Robert didn't go back in and put another order in, like the remake order, then that means my physical and my perpetual are going to be off. My perpetual says I should have sold this many, but in reality, my physical went out one extra. And so we have to remind Robert, hey, don't forget, if you have to make something over again, ring it in as a remake. So that way we know we can go back in and comp it off. But we still need to make sure it's in there so our physical and perpetual inventory. I'm still missing one scallop, so I got to figure out where that other one is going to be. But in reality, it's really important for us to find out why we're missing those 2 items. Okay. Why is it important to note that we 86th New York strip an hour before closing? Why is that important information for us to know?
So that we can pass that information on to the front of the house so they don't go ahead and take an order for it, maybe?
Good. So we definitely don't want to be taking any more orders for that New York strip. How can we use that information to help us in the future?
Gotta order more steaks.
We might have to order more steaks, right? Because if we don't, and our guests are coming in and they're running out of steaks, and that becomes a habit, then the guests are not going to come back because they're going to know, oh, they're always out of New York strip. Okay. So maybe you just have to remind ourselves and look at our par, and maybe we need to increase our par just slightly. Okay. We only ran out an hour before end of service. So an hour is not terribly long, a long time, but we have another steak. We have the ribeye steak. But I don't know if you guys are, if y'all are picky about which steak you eat. Ribeye steak is very different from New York strip. Ribeye is usually more marbled, more fat. The New York strip's a little bit more lean. And so people might prefer one over the other. So if they don't like ribeyes and then they don't have any other steaks available, they may not come back. Okay. So just kind of keep that in mind. Again, we're using this data, this information to track different trends that are happening. In our service, we also want to look at our waste report. Okay, how many of y'all work in food service right now? Anybody work in food service? Okay, do y'all do any kind of waste report during the shift to say what was wasted, what was thrown away?
I don't, but yes, I do.
Okay, cool. So what kind of food do y'all serve?
It's Pluckers, so it's a wing bar.
Oh, nice. Which Pluckers?
The one on Landmark, it's kind of far.
Oh, yeah.
It's like by
Okay,
UTSA.
cool.
But they have like a Cambro, like whatever, like chicken wings or like fries we don't use, we dump in there and they weigh it.
Absolutely. So they take into account all the weight of the items that were wasted and thrown away. Okay. Good. What else? Anybody else? When I was at Chester's Hamburgers, I, as the grill person, had to keep track of what was wasted. So if a burger came back because they used mustard instead of mayonnaise, and we had to throw away the whole burger. Or sometimes if it came back because there was cheese on it and it shouldn't have been, it was like a hamburger. Okay. I'm not gonna say this is the right thing to do, but sometimes I just scrape that cheese off, put it on the grill, heat it up a little bit, right? Melt that cheese off, put it back, and send it on its way. Then I'm gonna waste a piece of cheese. I might make the burger fresh again, right? So I might waste the lettuce, the bun, all of that kind of stuff, but at least I'm not gonna waste the protein of that. So I'm not sure if they do that anymore, and we're gonna assume that they don't. The other thing too, we had a like a 4-inch hotel pan right next to the fry basket. So the fries were made fresh every single order. And I have a different size hand as any one of y'all in here. And so the expediter would say this next order has 6 orders of fries. So I would have to learn, what does 6 orders of fries look like? How many handfuls does that make it for me? How many is it for Shandy? How many is it for Vanessa? How many is it for Kevin? Right? We all have our own different weight to figure out how much is 6 orders of fries versus 5 orders of fries, etc. So the preps would tell me, David, you were right on, or they hey, that fry was really heavy, meaning all those extra fries, we can't serve them because we have fresh fries every single order. And so they would take those extra fries and throw them in the waste bin. And then they would count how many times we emptied that waste bin during a shift, because the volume of French fries in that waste bin accounts to a certain number of orders, which means that's a certain amount of money of cost that's being thrown away. So Kayla, where do you work that you keep track of how many pans of bread you throw away?
I work at a Cracker Barrel, so we count how many biscuits we throw away at the end of the night.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. That's good. Anytime we throw something away, anytime something comes back, we want to take a note of those items that are being discarded, because that costs money. And so we could also then maybe see those trends that are happening. I was gonna say something real quick. Oh, Caleb, you reminded me. One time, my sister, she was a manager at Little Caesars, and they got an order in at like an hour before closing, and the girl that was working with her, because she was trained to just a whole pan of crazy bread, right? Rather than just putting in the 6 breadsticks and heating those up, she heated up a whole package of crazy bread, right? And so my sister ended up bringing home crazy bread because it was extra, but she had to teach that girl, okay, when we're this close to closing, if we're not going to sell that much, we'll start making these to order, not make a full order, because otherwise we have to throw this away and waste this food. Um, Technically, it should not be taken home, because if you start letting your employees take it home, what's going to happen? They're just going to start making extra just in case, and then all of a sudden, oh, well, we have this extra, I'm going to go ahead and take it home now. Okay, and so then that becomes an issue. All right, so let's look at our shift notes. And speaking of wasting items, which of these 5, the only one that's not having to do with wasting items is this running out, the steaks that we ran out of. So each one of these 4 items were wasted. It's important to look at our shift notes. How many of y'all know exactly what you did yesterday at work? Or the day before at work? Or the day before that? Or 2 weeks ago? Sometimes I don't even know what I did 3 hours ago, right? And so that's, especially if it's a really busy shift, that's why it's important to maybe carry in a little notepad. So when something happens, you just jot a note down. At 4 o'clock, Robert had some scallops went back because they were rubbery. So keep that shift notes. In hotels, we do this at the front desk. If a guest asks for something, we have a shift notes at the front desk. So that way the next guest that comes in, or the next front desk agent that comes in, they can review those to make sure all those issues get resolved. So it happens in all different aspects of the hospitality industry. So what I would like you to do is take a moment, think about this. I would like you to rate from 1 to 4, 1 being the most serious, and 4 being the least serious. So it's still serious. We still need to go ahead and address it, but it's maybe not as important as number 1. So go ahead and rank these in your notes, 1 through 4. The scallops that were remade, the gallon of primavera sauce, 5 pounds of pasta that were overcooked, and 2 cups of beurre blanc sauce. So I'll just give you about a minute to make your decision about what is number 1. If you all are in chat, if you want to type your answers, just list your number 1. It can be number 4, or you want to list your whole 1, 2, 3, 4. That's fine too. Give y'all a moment. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna go get a drink real quick. My throat's getting a little dry. All right, did anybody list the scallops as number 1?
Yes.
Okay, why did you list scallops as number 1?
I thought it would be the most expensive.
Okay, absolutely. So looking at price, that's good. With cost. Anybody else list number 1 for scallops? How about number 4? Anybody list the scallops as number 4? Why'd you list it as number 4?
I figured one word on that was not as bad as the rest
Okay.
in terms of quantity.
Okay, so we're looking at quantity now. That could be a deciding factor, right? But if we want to make sure that we want to know what the reason why those scallops were rubbery, okay? It could be the cook overcooked them. But if the cook prepared scallops all night long and only Robert's was rubbery, maybe it's because Robert gets distracted and his food sits in the window and the heat lamp makes those scallops rubbery. So maybe the conversation I need to have is with Robert, not the cook, but with Robert, and figure out, hey, why are your scallops every week, every time you work, there's at least 1 order of scallops that comes back rubbery. Okay. And the only way we have that is that documentation. We can see that habit or that pattern that develops, right? So it kind of just depends on what it is. We have to, I don't know, we just have to put our detective hat on and start figuring out why that is. So yeah, good. All right. Who listed the primavera sauce as number 1? Okay, a couple people in here. Yep, I see that for Hannah, Samantha, Brian, excellent. Why'd y'all list that as number 1?
I figured 1 gallon was kind of a lot.
Okay, the quantity again.
A lot of sugar wasted too.
Okay, so sugar was used instead of salt. So now we're wasting sugar. Not only are we wasting the whole pasta primavera itself, but we're also wasting sugar. Okay, anybody online have any comments?
It has a lot
I
of
feel like
butter. Good.
the volume of the amount that was waste could make a lot of orders.
Yeah, okay. So what is our normal standard portion size for a sauce in a pasta? About 4 ounces, about a quarter of a cup, right? So 128 ounces of sauce, that's a gallon, divided by 4 ounces is equal to 32 servings. pasta is usually relatively inexpensive. Um, and so that's why it's might be a good idea to look at that one because the cost isn't expensive, but we sell it maybe $10, $15 for a pasta plate, right? So that price, that profit margin is really high. So although the cost of the sauce itself maybe not be that much, but we don't want to lose out on all that profit. Okay. What's another issue with this situation?
It's gonna need to get remade time-wise, like
So
everything
that's
is labeled.
good. Spend more time remaking it. So not only are we losing cost on ingredients, we're losing cost on labor. Okay. Any other bigger issues that you see? What would be what would be something that as a detective, as a manager, what do you want to look at? What's the cause of this problem?
There's
They're
an
not
offer.
yeah, they're not
So
reading
someone's not paying
instructions right.
attention.
Or
Okay. What
maybe they're
else?
mislabeling, like there's something stuff isn't labeled.
If it's not labeled correctly, then what else was supposed to use salt but now has sugar in it? So, or sugar and salt look really similar, right? Maybe that person who was refilling all of our containers, maybe they accidentally put the sugar in the salt and the salt in the sugar. So now we have an issue of let's go test the container to make sure that that is actually salt and actually sugar. Otherwise, we may have some cinnamon rolls that are going to taste really gross with all that salt instead of sugar. Okay. So those are the kind of things you're looking at. It's not just the fact that we wasted 1 gallon. Why did we waste 1 gallon? Okay. What about pasta? Anybody put pasta as number one? Where did y'all put your pasta? 3, 2, 3,
Two.
twos. Anybody put it as 4? Okay.
I did.
I put it
Cool.
3.
Okay.
I put
So
it as 4.
why did y'all rate it as a lower item, lower importance?
It's not as expensive, right?
It's a cheaper ingredient. Okay.
That's what I was thinking too. Cheaper to buy.
Cool. So looking at that price,
It won't take that long to remake.
it won't take that long to remake.
And I think
You gotta boil water to boil 5 pounds of pasta. That's a lot of water.
you can get away with.
It also depends on what type of pasta it is. If it's like pasta made from scratch, or if it's already pasta that's just needs to just be boiled fast, like it's already done.
Yeah, that's true. Pasta made from scratch, all that labor to make fresh pasta, you're wasting labor again. Made a comment about how overcooked is it?
Yeah, like, I don't think most people don't even know how dense it is. So
Okay. So and maybe it does depend on the type of pasta it is. I don't know, right? Spaghetti, angel hair pasta, that's pretty. If you overcook angel hair pasta, it's just mush. Spaghetti, but maybe we overcooked the penne pasta or the butterfly pasta for farfalle pasta. Well, if I overcook the pasta, maybe I just toss it with some stuff and make a pasta salad. And then my employees can eat, right? Make family meal. And everybody just eats pasta, something. So I'm not gonna serve it. I'm not gonna throw it away, but I'm not gonna serve it to the guest. Okay, what about the beurre blanc sauce? Anybody put that as number one? 1 or 2? Destiny, I see you put beurre blanc as number one. Awesome. Why do we put that as such a high priority?
take forever to make.
Does take a lot of time to make. If it breaks, we have to throw it away.
That's not visible.
Can we fix a beurre blanc sauce that breaks? Put some really cold butter in there and whip the crap out of it. Eventually that emulsification will come back. Okay. So if we do that, adding that little extra butter to get that sauce to be fixed again, back on track, versus scrapping it and starting with the whole 1 or 2 pounds of butter, it might save a little bit more and we'll be able to rescue that. So maybe it's just a training issue. Maybe somebody just doesn't understand. Did I tell you all the story about my assistant cook who threw away all my lettuce because she didn't know what red leaf lettuce was?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a training issue. It could be just that. You know what? Hey, if this breaks in the future, don't just throw it away. Come find me and I can show you how to get it back on track. Okay. The point is, with our waste report, we have to track those. If we don't track it, then we don't have that documentation. Does it take time to write stuff down? Yes, absolutely. But the time that you spend doing that allows you to identify any patterns that are coming up. Okay.
I also feel like we sometimes people just need to also ask questions. Like if mistakes happen, it's not like not just feeling like, oh, you can't fix it. Like you always try to ask for help them trying to figure out how to fix it.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point. All right, so we've talked about that. Now let's talk about portion control. What are some examples of items that we have, tools we have in our kitchen that help us with our portion control? Who can give me an example?
Scoops.
Good. Scoops. What else?
Scales.
Ladles.
Scales.
Ladle.
Ladles. Good. Anybody else? What do you mean by pots? Okay, so we can make the recipe in that, but how do we know that the recipe says we've got 32 servings of soup? How do we know how are we going to control that we get 32 servings out of that big pot of soup? So definitely a ladle. What else can we might do?
Portion cups.
Measuring cups, okay. Good. We might use some kind of mold. Sometimes we use like a little ring mold that we can put the rice in, so we know that that's exactly the same amount for every single portion. Okay, we want to use the right tool for the right item. There was one summer I was here helping out up in the kitchen. We had a big event, a big reservation upstairs in Artemisia's. And so I was up there helping, and there was a student that was helping out the class because the class was a little small. And his job was putting the sauce on the plate. They were doing the chimichurri, the steak with chimichurri. And his job was doing the sauce. So the chimichurri was in a very small pan, right? It's just a sauce, just enough. He was using one of those giant big spoons that we use for serving or scooping, or stirring. You know, it's the big spoon I'm talking about. So he was using that to put the sauce on the plate. So as I walked in and I saw that, I said, "Hey, you might want to reconsider the size of spoon you're using." Right? I was just saying it in passing. And I went out, dropped the plates. I came back. He was just there on the line, putting sauce on the plate. Said, "Okay, you might want to reconsider the size of spoon that you're using because you're going through a lot of sauce right now. We have actually 40 servings to make." Wasn't paying attention. So finally, I called him out by name and I said, "You need to go and get a different spoon. You need to go get a small spoon.
Hmm.
Because if you don't use that small spoon, we're going to run out of sauce." And guess what happened?
Hmm.
We ran out of sauce. I was like, I know I'm just the hotel guy, but I do kind of know a little bit about food service. And we ran out of sauce. Thankfully, the only people who didn't get chimichurri sauce were employees of St. Philip's College, of our department, faculty and staff. So we get to, we've eaten the chimichurri before, and it's okay. It would be great to have it with our steak, of course, but we've had it before, so it's not a huge big deal. But we want everybody to have the same experience, okay? The other thing with our portion control is we want to keep in mind, how many of y'all have ever gone through a buffet for like an event? You not like a buffet that's set up where you go up and there's all the different stations, but a buffet where you go through a buffet line. Have y'all ever had that experience? You go through a buffet line, somebody serves you food, and then you go sit down and eat it. Okay. On a buffet line, this is really important. Our protein is the most expensive item, so it's usually the last place on the line. We usually put our sides up front, maybe even our salads. Why do we do that? Why do we put salads and sides and then the protein?
So they fill up
So
their
people get
plate
full of faster.
We're gonna
without
fill up our
protein.
plate. If you had an empty plate and there's a whole tray full of chicken legs, how many chicken legs are you gonna put on your plate? Probably you're gonna fill up the empty space. Whereas if you get to the end and you've got your salad and your pasta salad and your potato salad and your beans, all that on your plate, you don't have one little tiny spot for your brisket and your chicken.
Yeah, that's going on top of the food.
On top of the food, yes, exactly. So that's why we put the protein towards the end. And then for even more portion control, we may actually have a person that's serving the protein. The guests may serve themselves for the sides because it's inexpensive. People can serve themselves. But for the protein, we might actually have people that are serving. If we have two proteins, okay? We have two proteins. One thing that you can do, something that I learned, is if you have your protein and you have a person stand right here and a person stand right here at the end, protein number 1, protein number 2, and that way you can control the portions that are going out. And then you have what's called a double-sided buffet line. So people are going on both sides of the table. That way you can serve a lot of people in a lot quicker time. When I worked for Rio Cibolo Ranch, we did a party one time where we served 2,000 people in about 12 and a half minutes. We used 7 buffet lines. So we had 7 lines of people going double-sided, and you're able to feed a lot of people quickly by doing that double-sided buffet line. All right. So pre-portioned items. These are also known as convenience items. Sorry, misspelled that. Convenience items. Those are things that make our jobs easier, but there's more process to it. So they're typically more expensive. If I want all of my chicken breast to be exactly 4 ounces, I'm gonna have to pay that processing fee or that processing price to make sure that all of my chicken breasts are 4 ounces versus getting whole chickens and deboning them and using that meat. Okay. Or if I want to buy a chocolate cake because I don't have somebody that can make a chocolate cake and frost it, if I could just buy a chocolate cake frozen and the quality is there and it meets the quality of my guests, then it might be faster or better for me to go ahead and buy that frozen chocolate cake and then actually sell it that way versus making a chocolate cake. May even buy frozen, like the cake itself frozen, and then somebody just assembles it and frosts it. That's also an option. So those convenience items typically add to the price because it saves you time and labor. But the biggest key with their convenience items and the pre-portioned items means the quality still has to match the expectations of our guests. If the quality is less than our guests expect, then that's not going to be a good thing. All right, scoops. Let's talk about scoops for a minute because we did talk about those scoops. And there's one question on your final exam that has to do with scoop numbers. Okay. Our scoops, our factor is going to be 4. We want to remember the factor of 4. So scoops are always done by number. So if we're going to go from number to volume, so the number of the scoop to how much the volume, how much it is in volume. So we're going to take my number 16. We're going to divide by our factor of 4. What is 16 divided by 4? 4. And then we're just going to add that 1 right there on the top, and it is a 1/4 cup of volume. So our factor is 4. 16 divided by 4 is 4. And then we add that 1 on top to give us our volume. Now, what happens if we're going the opposite direction? If we have 1/3 cup, okay, we have 1/3 cup, and we want to figure out what the number is. We are going to multiply the denominator by 4 and get rid of the top. So what is 4 times 3? 12. Number 12 is a 1/3 cup volume. Questions, comments, concerns about scoop size? All right. You want to make sure that what we are selling is actually what is being served, okay? When I was a server at TGI Friday, sometimes I'd forget that I forgot to order an appetizer. So I'm making a drink, I forgot to put the appetizer order in. So I yell out, "Hey Kevin, can you drop an order of mozzarella sticks? I'll get it rung in just a second." Okay. Kevin's response should be no ticket, no mozzarella sticks, but we also say no ticket, no taco. Okay. No ticket, no taco. You don't have a ticket for me? I'm not making anything for you. Because what happens, he makes those mozzarella sticks. There's no ticket for it. So they sit in the window and nobody knows where those mozzarella sticks go. Or those mozzarella sticks sit in the window, and I come back and I take those mozzarella sticks and I go in the back and I eat them as a snack. Okay, that's stealing, that's not right. But now we're going to be short an order of mozzarella sticks because we have no ticket for it. So the cooks, we have to verify what was sold based on the tickets that we have written. When I worked at Chester's, the cashier, we would write the tickets on the front so it would look very similar to what you see right here on the screen. But instead of it going to a carbon copy where it copies the text on that back one, we would ring it into the cashier, into the register, and then we'd take the ticket and we'd print off whatever I rung up on the register. It would print off on the back. As a manager, they had to verify every single ticket that was served, every single lunch and dinner service. And so my managers, I can literally picture them right now, sitting at the bar, they're sitting there looking at all the tickets, they're verifying, flipping back and forth, make sure whatever is written on here is printed on the back. Whatever is written here is what the cashier charged the guest for. Okay. We'll talk about this in chapter 10 about overcharging and undercharging. But basically, what they're doing is they're figuring out that everything was accounted for. Remember, that's our perpetual inventory as things are rung up into the cash register, and that's going to match our physical inventory. All right, the last thing I want to talk about is in the sales is our money. Okay. How many of y'all have worked at a cashier type position before? Anybody? Okay, cool. So what is this bank that's down here? This $300. What is that bank? What does that mean? That's the money you start with. Okay. And why do we have to subtract this $300 from this total right here?
Because it's what's supposed to be already in the drawer.
Right? It's already in the drawer. It is part of this money, of the bills and the change. That's part of that $300 is part of that. So did we actually bring in that $300? No. So we want to subtract it out to make sure we calculate our deposits correctly. Okay. So let's do a couple of examples. My cash and credit cards, if I add these together, what do I get? 9,500. Excellent. I'm gonna subtract my bank of $250. So what is my total cash on hand?
92.
9,250. Okay. So that's what I have is 9,250. Now I go and print out my report, and my report says I should have $9,240. But in reality, I have 9,250. So what is my difference? $10 over. I have $10 more than I should have. Is that a problem?
Yes, because someone didn't put something in there.
Yeah.
That's what accounted for.
Maybe somebody forgot to
Or
bring
somebody
something in.
overcharged.
Maybe somebody overcharged. Okay. There's all these different reasons why we might be $10 over. Maybe somebody was like, it was really busy, and this happens a lot of times in the bar. Somebody orders like 2 drinks and they just pay cash. So they just put the cash in the register without ringing those 2 drinks in, right? It could be an honest mistake like that. Okay. But we still want to investigate why. Okay, how about this one? 9,500 again. This time we only have $100 in our bank, so we subtract that to get 9,400. There we go. Okay. We subtract this, and what is our shortage?
$25.
Ooh, we're $25 short. That's a huge issue. We'll talk about that in chapter 10. That's our cash, that's our revenue. We got to figure out why we're short $25. Okay. We have to do this report every single shift, every single time. Questions, comments, concerns about conserving our costs during service and the sales? No.
Concern.
Okay. We'll stop the recording.